Hello pattern lovers, you're welcome and welcome back. It's yet another exciting tutorial, and in today's video we'll be drafting this gorgeous dress featuring halter neckline, transferred darts in soft pleat form, dartless back bodice with keyhole, high hip half length and a pleated skirt. So if you want to learn how to go about the pattern drafting of all these features you see on this dress, then kindly watch this video to the very end and let's get straight to it. I already marked out a space for front and back, and we'll be starting with the front. I have a border line which will serve as the shoulder line, and from that line I'm going to go down first to my bust point line, then to my waistline, and then to the hip line. I'm marking from the shoulder to the bust point line, to the waistline, and then to the hip line. And once that is done, I'm going to use my ruler to mark the lines out this way, and then I'm going to come to the shoulder line and mark the shoulder measurement divided by 2. Then I'll go down to my chest line, and on that point again I'm going to mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to come to the back pattern and mark the shoulder measurement divided by 2 on the shoulder line, then go down to my chest line and mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2 again on that point. Now I'm going to use my ruler to mark both the shoulder of the front and the chest line of both front and back like this. Then go ahead and label them chest line, bust point line, waistline, and the hip line. Now I'm going to start from the shoulder and go down to the back waistline and then to the hip line, and it is 1.5 shorter than what I have on the front pattern. I hope you can see that. I'm marking from the shoulder to the waistline back length, yeah, and then to the hip line. Then I'll label them waistline and then the hip line. I'll come back to the front pattern and mark 3 inches here as my neck width, and then go down here to 3 inches. That's like me using 3 by 3 as my neck width and my neck depth, and I'm going to give it this round neckline shape. Now I will come down here to 1.5 for the shoulder slope and connect it to the neck width just like this. Now I'm going to get the midpoint of this line, and once I have it, I'm going to go in there to 1/2 inch, then come to my chest line and take the bust measurement divided by 4, and then use these 3 points to get the armhole curve, just as you can see me do it here. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to mark the neck width here too. Just know that this is the center back of the back here. So 3 inches neck width and then 1.5 neck depth. And I'm going to use my curve to give it this round neckline shape, just as you can see me do it here. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to come down here to 1 inch to slope the shoulder for the back and connect it from that 1 inch to the 3 inches neck width this way. Now I'm going to measure the back neckline, just this neckline curve here. I'll measure it and write it down because we'll be needing that later. Okay, so have it in mind. Then go ahead and also measure the front neckline, just this curve here too, and then you write it down. Then you're going to plus it with what you have on the back and put the whole figure down, because you'll be needing this for the collar when we'll be cutting out the collar. Okay, so it's just important that you do it now before cutting out the halter neckline. Do you understand that? So write it where you won't forget, because I forget a lot. That's why I'm taking these measures, so that I won't lose the figure. I'll come to the bust point line and mark my bust span. I'll mark it also on the waistline. That's the nipple to nipple divided by 2. Then for the dart intake, I'm going to be doing 0.75 on both sides, and then I'm going to connect from that point to the bust point on both sides this way. The next thing I'm going to do is to take the waist measurement divided by 4. Then I'm going to replace the dart intake, and then I'm going to this is my waist measurement divided by 4 here, yeah. I'll come to the hip line and mark the hip measurement divided by 4. There is no dart going down, so we'll just need the actual waist measurement and then the hip line for the down part. Don't worry, work with me. Now I'll come down here to 1.5 for my bust dart, because that's the difference between my front length and the back length, as you can see it here. Then I'm going to connect it to the bust band this way. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to come down here on this front neckline to 1.75. If your neckline is wider, you might need to just come down 2 inches, or better still, measure it around the neckline and measure your 2 inches, but I'm using 1.75 and it's here. Then I'm going to curve from that point to the armhole curve or to the bust width, just as you see me place my ruler like this. And because this is sleeveless, you can decide to raise your chest line like this if that is what you want. Then I'm going to be tightening this outer line, this same curve we have here, and I'll be doing about 0.75 tightening. And you see how I'm connecting that, yeah? This is just so it will lap so well on the body with no form of gaping. And once I'm done marking the gaping that, I'm going to screw them to make them equal so that we won't have any shortage. Then I'm going to recurve this way to this truing that I just did. So I have 3 inches here and I'm going to be sharing it 0.75 intervals just to make up to that 3 inches, yeah. And once I'm done doing it on the neckline, I'm going to come down here on the bust point line just from the bust span, yeah. I'm going to just share it, mark intervals that will match up with the one I have on the neckline. And since the line I have on the bust point line is bigger, yeah, it's going to be more than the 0.75 I marked on the neckline. But after I'm done doing that, this is what I have, and you should have the same thing. Then I'm going to just label them just in case you're not using your pattern same day, so you don't lose any of them. Now I'm going to come down here to 4.5 from the waistline, then mark the same 4.5 on the center front this way and mark a straight line to connect it. Then for the curve we have on the front part, I'll be going up here 2.5. From that 4.5, I went up 2.5, yeah. Then I'll place my curve this way and curve it to the 4.5 I have on this side, just the same way you can see me do it. And yeah, it's looking like that curve we have on the dress. Now we move to the back, and then I'm going to contour the center back with 1/2 inch. I'll mark 1/2 inch from the center back inwards on the waistline, then take it all the way to the shoulder line or the neckline and take it down to the hip line this way. I'll start from this new contour line and take my bust measurement divided by 4. On the waistline, the waist measurement divided by 4. And then on the hip line, the hip measurement divided by 4. Remember, we are working with a dartless back body, so we'll be doing another kind of darts later. I'll get the midpoint of this line from the shoulder slope to the chest line, and once I have it, I'll mark it. Then curve from the bust to it to the midpoint, and the back armhole curve is ready. Now I'm going to come down here to 1.25. Initially, I wanted to do the same 1.75 I did on the front pattern, but I realized that the back neckline, the curve is not as much as what we have on the front, so I ended up doing 1.25 on the back neckline. But for now, this is 1.75. Then I'm going to measure from the shoulder line to my neck depth for the keyhole, and I'm using 8.5. Then you can decide to come in here 1/2 inch, or better still, just come in here on this neckline curve. From the center back, you come in 1/2 inch, yeah. So here now I have 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to just take it from that point to the 8.5 depth with my curve this way. And yeah, that's why I said you can ignore doing that 1/2 inch I did earlier. Just do your 1/2 inch on the neckline and take it down to your neck depth. And here I'm trying to do the 1.25 I mentioned, and yeah, even looking at it, you see that this one is much better. The next thing I'll do now is to go up here from the waistline on the center back. I'll go up 1/2 inch and come down 1/2 inch. Then I'm going to connect it in a dart form to the side seam line. And this is the another kind of dart that I mentioned we'll be working with. Okay, this is a gaping dart and it will help contour the center back better. I'll start from the second dart line and go down to 4.5, the same thing we use for the front. But you can decide to take that 4.5 from your original waistline. Then on the side, I'm going to go down from my waistline to 4.5. Then I'm going to connect it just as you can see me do it here. And yeah, the extension is ready for the back. Now we are going to be cutting this out, and I'll be showing you how to close the gaping that we have on the center back. First, I'm going to be slashing one of the darts this way, cut off the paper like this, yeah, and then apply my water glue in between the darts and place it on the other dart leg, matching the side seam line this way. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to be doing a gaping dart here, but I'll be doing just 1/2 inch because this is the back, and yeah, you don't need too much tightening on the back. If you have worked with an outer neck before, you can try not to do this gaping dart if you know that it's your pattern works without this gaping dart. But yeah, mine will work better with this 1/2 inch gaping dart. Then once I'm done closing it, I'm going to blend the curve like that, and then blend in the center back contour line, take it back all the way to the neckline this way, and take it down to the hip line this way. Then you're going to recurve this keyhole, place your curve this exact way you curved it out initially, and then you're going to measure your waistline from the center back contour line, and you see that it usually adds 0.25. Just take it out the same way you see me do it. Then I'm going to be cutting the rest of the pattern out. And yeah, this pattern looks like something that will blend into a human's curve. You know, I usually add my zipper allowance on the pattern, yeah. I'll still add it, but yeah, this is another way I do it in case the width of my paper didn't permit me to do it while drafting. So I just apply my water glue, place it on a fresh paper, highlight the vital points of the pattern, then follow it to add my zipper allowance. Then for the keyhole, you can decide to blend it in like you see me do it, or you just cut it out this way. I recommend this one. So we are going to keep this aside and work on the front pattern. And first, I'm going to be cutting it out here on the waistline, then cut out the skirt and indicate the top parts immediately. Next, I'm going to be closing or transferring the dart. The first thing I will do is to cut off this waist dart. Usually, I slash it open to close the bust dart, but I cut off the dart leg. Then I'm going to close the bust dart this way, blend in the side seam, and then the next is to um close the gaping dart, and I'm going to be closing it the same way you see me do it. Slash one of the dart lines, place it on the other one, and close it permanently. Then you're going to blend in any line you have around the gaping dart, and mine is looking like this. After cutting out the neckline, I'm going to slash through these lines because yeah, that's where we'll be transferring the darts. Then for the dart transfer, go ahead and measure the space you have here on the waist dart, yeah. The one we already transferred, measure the width. That's right, from one paper to the other so that you will know how much you'll be transferring on this part that we'll be doing now. But for now, I'm going to be closing the waist dart so that we transfer it to the top part where we'll have the soft pleats that will serve as the dart to create that much space that we need for the bust to sit. Do you understand? So go ahead and take your time and close it nicely. And after doing it, this is what mine is looking like. So go ahead and spread this transfer dart evenly, but we'll be making it flexible. This slashed part, I'm going to just open it here, slash it here, yeah, but not all out like you see me do it here. Then I'm going to bring in a fresh paper so that to transfer this accordingly, and then I'm going to be using my water glue. Don't get tired of me using the water glue. I prefer it to that colored masking tape, especially for patterns like this, because that makes the pattern, that colored masking tape makes the pattern dirty. So I'm going to be spreading with 1.5. So I'll measure from this part of the paper inward 1.5, then apply my water glue the same way you can see me do it. Place it on the 1.5, and then I'm going to go in again to 1.5, and then apply the water glue again on this paper just the same way you can see me do it, and place it on the 1.5. So I measured from this paper now to the center one, and it's about, instead of 1.5, I think I have about 1.75, which normally you should just leave it like that. But I wanted to just maintain the same 1.5 I started with. So you see that I'm taking out from the transfer dart about 0.25, which I do not recommend. But once I'm done with that, I'm going to start folding. I'll fold from the first one and place it just very close to the second one, but not overlapping. Do not overlap them, okay? Then I'll tape it down. I will be taking that taping down later. But for now, I'll fold the second one and place it very close to the third one. And then fold this third one, yeah? And then place it very close to the other one in a way that it's not like you slashed it, just as it is before slashing, yeah. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to use my curve and blend in the neckline this way, and immediately after doing that, I'm going to measure to see if I have the 3 inches I have on the pattern before slashing. You should have the same thing, okay, so that you don't add or reduce from your neckline. Then I'm going to be cutting out the pattern just as you can see me do it. Once I'm done, I'm going to bring in a fresh paper so that we add it to the skirt we cut out earlier. And I'm going to just tape it down the same way you see me do it with my water glue. Then I'm going to use my ruler to make the waistline straight. This would mean you're taking out about 0.25 or 0.375 or even half inch on the center part of your paper. Do you understand? But just make sure you make the waistline straight. Then I'm going to match the skirt up on the waistline and apply my water glue and tape it down this way. And of course, I'll just go ahead and cut it out, and after cutting it out, I'm going to be making the center front straight so that it will be easy for us to transfer to the fabric. So after making it straight, yeah, I'm going to cut it out like the excess, and then I'm going to open up this part that we taped down earlier, just like this. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to use my water glue to hold this part down again, and then I'm going to use my ruler again to make it straight. And you can see that the center front is now straight just as it should, so that it will transfer it evenly to the fabric. Yeah, once I'm done, I'm going to match up the side seam of both front and back like you see me doing it here. And if there's any excess, I'm going to take it out from the waistline down. Then from the waistline upwards, I have excess of about 0.375 on the back armhole, yeah, or on the back pattern. And then I'm going to be taking out just the same way you can see me do it. Once I'm done, I'm going to match it up again, and you see that, yeah, it's now equal. So that's it for the pattern. The next thing we should be talking about now is the gathers, or the length of the skirt. Place your waistline on your waistline, then measure to this extension. For me, I have 19 inches. What I'm going to do is to minus this 19 inches from my whole gown length. And let's say I'm working with a whole length of 57 inches. It's going to be 57 minus 19, and I would have 38 inches. So this 38 inches now will be the length for the gathers or the skirt. Do you understand that? And then you're going to work with that length and blend it in on the side. But if that would be difficult for you to do it that way, you can decide to just use that length, gather it, and fix it to the base or to the half length, whichever way you choose to do it. But then once you're done, you're not going to fold your dress nicely, and then you make it equal on the hem. That's the down part here before you now go ahead and fold the hem. But you can also decide to gather the fabric. Once you cut out the fabric for the gathers, you gather it, then you now go ahead and place the upper bodice on it and trace it out, whichever one that will work for you. Okay, now let's talk about the color, and we already have the figure written down on our pattern paper. Yeah, so I have a folded paper here now, and what I'm going to do, since this is 8.25, meaning that I just measure it on the front neckline and the back neckline. The front is going to be on fold, the back two pieces, meaning that it's going to be 16 and half. Now 16 and half divided by 3.14, that is giving me 5.25. 5.25 now will give us the radius that will go around the neckline. That's the 16 and half that you're working with here. So I'm going to be marking 5.5 here. Yeah, 5.25 here, 5.25 here, and 5.25 here. Then I'm going to connect them to give me this curved line that is giving radius of a circle. I'll measure it, and I have exactly 8.25, meaning that I have the 16 inches that will go around the neckline, both front and back, exactly what we measured earlier. Okay, so now we are going to be going up from this curve. I'll be going up 1.75, and you can do between 1.5 to 2 inches. For this kind of color, you just need 1.5 or 2 inches high. Yeah, the height for the collar. And I'm marking 1.75 here. Once I'm done marking the 1.75, I'm going to also connect it like you see me doing it here. Then I'm going to follow the upper curve and add half-inch joining allowance and half-inch folding allowance on the down curve, and connect it like this. And then I'm going to cut it out. So you're sewing here, and then you'll be folding the down one to give you that same 1.75 that you are working with as the height of the collar. So I'm going to cut it out the same way you see me do it. And by the time you fold the half-inch down here and sew on the half-inch on the top here, you will have your 1.75 height of the collar. But yeah, that's how you go about the collar, and it's going to just wrap around your neckline. Yeah, so that's pretty much about it for this particular pattern. For the gather suite, you're going to measure your waistline or this extension here on the back pattern. I have 9 inches, and the back pattern is going to be 2, meaning that is 18. Then for the front is going to be 36 in total. Or better still, you measure here this curve here on the front pattern, and it's also 9 inches, meaning that it's 36. So you're going to times 36 by 2, by 3, or by 2.5, depending on how full you want it, and depending also the kind of fabric you are using. But yeah, that's pretty much about it for this particular tutorial. I hope you found it very helpful. If you did, let me know in the comments, and I'll be seeing you on my next one. Bye bye.